Now, where you stand when you talk, should be a little bit. We start used to stand there talking after. Used to.
They can barely see me.
You can't see me.
I've started it.
Right out. She just
I'm
got
front and
front
center of the camera then.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order and ask our city recorder to call this meeting of the Dresden Board of Mayor and Alderman roll, and we'll declare the meeting open.
Glenn Anderson.
Here.
Lyndall Building.
Here.
Joyce Hart. Here. Sandra Klotz. Kenneth Moore.
Here.
Willie Parker.
Okay, I want to welcome everyone tonight. We've got a couple of visitors here, and we're going to hear from them in a little bit. But we also welcome everybody that might be watching live on our YouTube channel and observing our city board meeting as we carry out the business of the city of Dresden this July 6th. I'm going to ask that we stand, and Linda, would you mind giving the invocation tonight? And then Kenneth Moore is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation.
Lord, we thank you for this day, this opportunity to come before you. God, we thank you for your many blessings and all your many benefits you have allowed us to take. God, we ask you to keep your hand up on the Anderson family and also the Oliver family. God, we ask you to take care of them in this time. Lord, bless us and touch this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you have before you the minutes of the prior meeting that you received in your pre-meeting packet as well. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they're typed? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve? Got a motion by Alderman Dildy, a second by Alderman Klutz to approve. If you would call the roll, please.
Anderson.
Yes.
Building.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Klotz. Yes. Moore.
Yes.
Okay. That motion is carried on. Communications from Mayor. Don't have a lot tonight, but you received the news that we had achieved a Class 4 fire suppression rating from the ISO, and lowers our fire insurance rates for our commercial and residential property owners in our community. And that's a good thing. It helps us in that way, and it also helps us in regard to our ability to recruit new industries and business, because that's one of the things they look at as they evaluate our city and what it would cost to come here. And they look at things like insurance rates and the ability of the fire department to service the community or any needs that they have. It not only tests the fire department's ability, but it also tests communications, our water system. It's a good statement on our water system because we scored fairly well on our water system from what we were when the last ISO evaluation was given in 2014. So this board's approved a lot of different projects over the last 5 years that would upgrade our water system as well as our fire department. And as I noted in the news release, I thank all of you for your dedication to serving the citizens of Dresden through approving these things and making our city a better place to live and upgrade our capabilities to recruit industries and business. One other thing, we have approved our tax rate, and I took a look at what the other tax rates were in Weakley County, and by George, we're the lowest property tax rate in Weakley County with $1.48. And next is Gleason with $1.66, and Greenfield with $1.73, Martin with $1.75 after their increase, and then the city of Sharon is $1.80. So We've done really well in Dresden. We didn't have to have a property tax increase. Actually, our sales tax did really well during the shutdown that we had earlier. We had one record month for that particular month with our sales tax. Not only on top of that, we have the lowest utility rates in Weakley County as well. So we've got a lot to be proud of in our city here, and this board is a large part of that through the frugal management of our monies and watching how we spend it and what we do with the citizens' money, and always trying to give them back value for their money. That's about all I have this evening on communications from Mayor. Does anybody have a question of me?
I just want to say how sorry I am about Patty Anderson,
Yes.
my Gwen's mother, which is Joe, our mayor's wife.
Yes. And we all extend our condolences, Gwen, on the loss of her
I
mother.
appreciate that. My mother had a very good life. She was part of this community and enjoyed it all her life, and so she was definitely had a full life because of Dresden.
You were blessed to have a mom and dad like Patty and Joe Anderson, and
Granddaddy too.
and yes, and
Granddaddy
Granddaddy Crawford as well.
They certainly got back to the community, and Gwen has done the same thing. So he's got a lot on his shoulders now to live up to his mom and dad and Granddaddy Crawford, but I have no doubt.
I think he's already lived up to
I
that.
think he has, and I think he's going to continue to. It's his third president on this vote. We can't do without him.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Input from citizens. Alex, I'm going to go ahead and let you go right now and
Sure.
present what you have from the election commission.
Okay, thank you. Was,
Does everybody have?
everybody provided the copy of the ordinance that we're looking at today? Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought that everybody already had it. It's an ordinance regarding,
So I'll give a brief explanation of it while she's making copies, if that's okay. So the election commission, is asking that we change the way we do property rights voting. So to get a little familiarity, I think most of you are already familiar with it, but there is a non-resident property owners in the city of Dresden can register to vote in the city elections only on that property. So we call that property rights voting. That's allowed in section 2D of the city's charter. So what we're looking at here is asking the city to pass this ordinance to have those property rights voters only vote by mail. So your regular voting, none of that will change. It's only these property rights voters that would vote by mail. And if you pass this, we would automatically send, let me look, y'all, the city of Dresden has currently 53 registered property rights voters. So all 53 of those voters would automatically receive an application for ballot through the mail from the election commission. They would be responsible for completing that application and returning it, and then we would send them a ballot. So we're not automatically sending ballots to these voters, we're automatically sending applications. All right. The reason we would do this is to simplify the process. I don't know if any of you have been there when a property rights voter comes in, but they actually have to do 2 voting sessions instead of just the 1. So you have for instance, we'll say a 9A voter. They live in the 9A precinct, but outside the city limits, but then they have property in the city, so they're registered there. So they would come through the line, do their regular voting, get it out of the way, go back through the line, get their property rights voted. So it's a fairly cumbersome process. It's confusing a lot of times for the voter, it's confusing for election officials. There's only 200 and some odd property rights voters throughout the whole county. So by passing this, it would simplify that process, get that property rights voting happening by mail, and those aren't happening at the same time. So that's as simple as this is.
I know several that missed voting in the city because they forgot till they got outside, and then they just didn't want to go back through.
Right.
It was really confusing.
Yes.
Mayor, if I can add a couple things. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I can speak with a certain degree of knowledge on this, having served as a commissioner on the election commission for 8 years. It's usually a problem if you have new poll workers who have never worked election before, when you explain to them that you have one set of books for your regular general voting for your county, state, and federal elections, and you have a separate set of books that deal strictly with property rights voting. It's very foreign to them to understand that they can let somebody go through the line twice when it goes against everything they were taught, one person, one vote type of mentality. So the mail-in voting doesn't disenfranchise everybody. The elections office would mail out, as Alex said, the letter to all property rights voters. This presumes that you have already taken your property deed to the Elections Commission office to sign up for property rights votes. They have to have a copy of your deed on file before you're classified as having property rights voting within a municipality. So to eliminate
That's currently the way it is.
Correct. By state law, to have property rights voting, you have to have a copy of your deed. And interestingly enough, just for clarification, no more than 2 people can vote per parcel of property. So you have a husband and wife can vote on one piece of property, but if you have, say, 3 siblings that own one parcel of land, only 2 of them can vote per parcel of land per state law. So you generally have to pick or subdivide that parcel. So in this case, it would simplify the process. I don't see any harm of disenfranchising anyone else who would work on the same mechanism as you would your absentee balloting by mail. It works in the same mechanism, the same methodology.
And it would need to be postmarked by the date of the election.
So any ballots, that's a very good question. Any ballots that are received must be received in the election office by election day per state law. So all by mail ballots for regular voting, for this voting as well, would need to be received in the office by election day. With doing this, we already have a mechanism, and we'll call it regular voting and property rights voting. So we already have a mechanism in regular voting that's called our permanent absentee list. So it's voters that have a physician statement that says, the doctor says this person, it's better for them to vote by mail. So we automatically send them applications for ballot, and then we send them their ballots. We do this plenty ahead of time. If you choose to pass this ordinance, you'll have your first reading today. If you choose to pass it today, and then in August meeting, that gives us plenty of time. The end of August, first part of September for the November election, we'll already be sending out applications to your voters. So they have plenty of time to request their ballots. We'll have plenty of time to get their ballots to them and for them to return it. That's great. And the last day, currently in state law for regular voting and for this, to request your ballot would be 7 days before election day. So if we receive, we'll send these out plenty of time ahead. If they don't return it timely, which 7 days before election day, then they would not be eligible to receive. Because we have to send the ballot by mail, we have to receive the ballot by mail by election day. So it gives it.
They couldn't bring it to the election office.
No, sir. They would have to vote through the mail.
Well, typically, Mr. Anstey, it presumes 3 days out, 3 days in, each way by mail is the way we figure the time.
Correct. So any
only,
voter.
But you only mail it out 7 days.
No. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. That would be the last day we could receive their request. That's the last possible day that we could send. We send ballots out for generally every request that we have before 45 days before election day. We have sent those ballots out. We have a military deadline for our military voters. 45 days before election day is the deadline for us to send those for all the requests that we've received. So we use that deadline for everybody.
It's what we call the procrastinator clause. In other words, if you procrastinate and wait till the last minute,
Yes.
we can send out up to 7 days before election day if you procrastinate and don't order your ballot in time.
So there's a large window of time for voters to request. If they request an absentee ballot the very first day, as soon as I have ballots printed and ready to go, they're going to get their ballots sent in the mail. We're not going to hang on. So as soon as the state approves our ballots, we do something a lot different than others. We actually are able to have the capability to print our ballots in-house. So as soon as the state gives me approval on our ballots, I'm able to hit print and start sending ballots out immediately. There's no lag time between. So we have a very good system for getting those ballots to voters.
Is this particular action taking place in other jurisdictions of
Yeah,
elections?
a very good question. All 5 municipalities have property rights voting. 3 of them have taken it up at this point. 4 of them have heard it, including you. The city of Gleason has completed this process. They heard it the first time, read it, and they actually added it to their budget hearing to read it for the second time. So they've completed the process. Greenfield will hear it the second time this month, and then they actually have a 3-time ordinance reading in the city of Greenfield. So they'll read it their 3rd time in August. So they'll be complete. Sharon was missing a board member that actually had been an election official before, and they wanted to get his opinion on it, so they delayed action. They're going to take it up next Monday, actually. So they'll have their ability to do two readings, and then the city of Martin next Monday, I'm on the agenda to be heard. So all 5 cities are going to hear it. I anticipate, and it would be great if all 5 cities would go on and
So
Is this a statewide process or just a county process?
So with your property rights voting, it's completely up to y'all. If y'all say, we don't want to do this, then y'all set the rules for your voting for your city property rights. The ability to do this is available statewide, yes, sir, but it is not mandated in any way. This is completely up to y'all.
Whether the board authorizes it is up to the board.
Out of the 53 people that are registered to vote off property right, what percentage of them vote? Do you know?
Actually, you were at Greenfield when I got asked that same question, and shame on me, I've been a little distracted. I did not pull those numbers, so I apologize. I would say that Dresden, because of proximity to early voting, has a higher percentage than other cities for participating. Actually, y'all have the 2nd highest registration of property rights, not too far behind the city of Martin. I think they're about 70, 78. So you're not too far behind the
We
city.
have a higher percentage than
Yes, significantly higher. Y'all are by far the highest percentage property rights. So your city takes advantage of this more than any other. I would agree with that.
Just make it easier on them.
Yes, ma'am. So that's the first thing.
You want to take that up, and
Yeah,
what's your pleasure?
I think we should do this.
make a motion.
I second.
No, I said you make a motion.
I make a
Got a
motion.
motion by Alderman Hurt to approve this on first reading. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Close. Any discussion on the motion and second? Hearing none, if you would call the roll, please, ma'am.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fielding,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Klutz,
Yes.
Moore.
No.
I got one question on follow-up on that. Would, So if somebody came in person, they would not be able to vote?
Correct. This would take it, but they would have already received an application through the mail to take care of that. Yes, sir.
Could you do both?
And currently both are available, but that's where we're getting into the confusion that's created at the polling place. So you have voters that are confused sometimes. You have election officials that are confused sometimes. So this would simplify the process tremendously and improve the voting process, I would feel. And the election commission does as well.
That having it passed, we'll have a second reading at our August board meeting and a public hearing on that date on this particular ordinance as well.
I would like to know the percentages of the 53 at the next meeting. And
Sure.
then after the election, I'd like to know the percentage.
To see the difference?
Yep.
Okay. Sure.
If you can track those numbers for me.
No, I can definitely get you the.
If we've done something that's didn't work out the way we thought it would, then we can simply reverse what we've done and go back to what we're doing.
Sure.
The second thing Alex has for us concerning the language in our charter of the date of our election in November. Our charter actually says the first Tuesday in November, whereas the state law says that the election in November, in which we vote at, is to be held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday. So if the first Tuesday is on a first day of the month,
2022.
we technically aren't in compliance with what the state law says, or we're out of compliance in that regard. So he is proposing to us that and he doesn't have an ordinance drawn tonight, but we got plenty of time between now and November to do it, that we change the language in our charter, which the Tennessee legislature has approved, to allow cities to do, because we weren't the only one that run up against this.
Not even in Weekly County.
Not even in Wiggly County.
City election used to be in June.
Yes.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
sir.
So in reviewing the charter, looking at property rights and all that, I came to the spot where it says when your election will occur. And it says the first Tuesday in November of even numbered years. Well, fortunately, since I've been administrator, it's always fallen on the regular date. Unfortunately, in 2022, it's November the 1st, and election day is November the 8th. So theoretically, if we were following your charter without making this correction, you guys would have your municipal elections a week before the regular elections. All right. Initially, when I looked at this and spoke with Jennifer, we were thinking that it may have to be a charter change because it's in the charter. Well, you guys were not the only ones across the state, even in Weakley County. Like I mentioned, there's another municipality with the same issue. So there's a statute. It is 654-138 that allows you to make this correction by an ordinance. And so it's a simple ordinance. I haven't drawn the ordinance. I did draw the other ordinance up, but I did not draw this one up. But that, I don't know. I'm assuming some of y'all have been through a charter change with the city, and it's fairly cumbersome. It's not very fun. You have to pay extra money to this person that overcharges over here. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. But it's fairly cumbersome process, and you can make this correction by ordinance. So I would recommend taking care of that. Again, this is plenty of time because it's not going to affect 2020. It only will affect 2022. And so you guys have plenty of time, but I just wanted to share the statute that allows that and just put that on your radar so that y'all can get an ordinance drawn up to take care of that.
It's what we call an umbrella change. Every so often, you'll have an issue that plagues so many municipalities. Charter changes just aren't feasible one at a time by private act. So the General Assembly will enact a broad-based statute. They'll stick it in the code section saying you can do this by ordinance to keep it out of our legislative docket.
Alex, are you going to draw that ordinance for the other city that's involved?
I am not going to draw the ordinance for this. No. Yeah, so the only reason I was able to draw the initial one is because I have a template off of that. And it's fairly easy for me to draw up the other ordinance. I do not have a template for fixing this.
He'll draw one and overcharge us for it.
What else is new?
Basically, that's just a simple cross to tell you about that.
Yes, this should take long to draft.
All right.
But those are the only two things I have. I would be happy if, at the pleasure of the mayor, to entertain any other questions or anything else.
Alex, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank y'all for having me,
We
and
appreciate it.
I will work on the information for y'all, and if you so desire, I will come to the next month's meeting to feel
Or you can just send it and put it in our packet or
Yep.
something.
I'd be glad to do that. So, thank y'all. Have a nice
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other input from citizens? We're going to take up the fire truck just a little bit there. Does it?
Thank you, sir.
Employee reports. Carla Edwards has provided you with a finance report. Any questions of Carla? She's online. Hearing none, I'm going to move on to Kerry Cooper, our Public Works Director, and he is online as well. I didn't hear him sign on.
Yeah, I knew it because I couldn't hear it.
Okay. I know JP's on there. I heard him sign on. Any questions of JP about our water plant operations or the lagoon operations?
Mayor.
Yes,
To carry, we got a red light out of 54 and 22.
Josh has been notified. Gary's been off. He's got some medical issues, but Josh has been notified.
any questions of Jeff Purple? Got Steve Howell as our police chief, but as you're aware, Steve has resigned as police chief and took a job with the Office of Inspector General for the state of Tennessee, and he had a chance to advance his law enforcement career significantly, and I never fault anybody when they have a chance to do their family situation and their income, improve it. I congratulate Steve on having that new job, even though we regret his leaving the city of Dresden. He did a fine job for the city of Dresden now for several years, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. As you're aware, we've got Chris Crocker serving as our interim chief for a little while until we decide what to do with that, and we put him to the test a little bit too, and we'll see where that goes. And then we'll come back to the board and see what your wishes are a little later if you don't have any objection to handling it in that way. Okay. I think Chris is going to do a good job, and we've got a new officer that's been hired. Tell us what his name is.
It's Rodney Wright.
Rodney Wright. He's a police officer. He's a veteran police officer. He's got worked several years down Dyersburg, is that correct?
Newbern Police Department.
I think about 20 years down there. So, and he's come up here and taken a job here. He has not been working in law enforcement for a couple of years or so. He went into private business, but with COVID, things hit sort of hard, and he needed a job to make sure he had some income coming in. So we're lucky to have him with somebody with that many years
I
experience.
met him the 4th out here, him and Brian.
Great.
And he was really a nice, seems to be really nice.
He's talking. He's talking about, say that. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Let's see, any questions?
Can we go back to public works?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The pothole on Locust Street is needing attention. It's causing damage to cars. Again,
We're good for.
Is that the one down by your house?
Yeah, but I've seen 2 wreckers have to be called.
It's on there, it's fully paid.
Okay. Well, we had another wrecker service. Have to take a call.
We'll get something in tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh.
That's not right.
Yeah, there's another one on Parkway too, Kerry, that needs some attention.
Okay.
If you don't mind, Kerry, come by and see me in the morning as well, please.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, nothing bad. I just got a few other things to pass on to. Park Director, Joey Winston. Any questions of Joey?
We just miss him.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the line. Joey, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Well, good. Anything to report on the park, Joey, other than what you've already put in your report?
Just got some improvements, coming to the park and looking forward to those. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Hope they had a good time at Wilson Park. Hope my staff did a good job of making everything look presentable. Unfortunately, I was not there. I'm thankful to Mr. Washburn for letting me go spend time with my family and things like that and be away from the sport. So hope the park looks good and hope everything looks good. Hope you're having a great time.
Everything looked great. they did a good job in your absence.
Thank you, sir.
And the fireworks show went off well. I think they had a little boo-boo at the end of it.
I never said.
As far as getting the finale going right, something appeared to have occurred that it didn't have the grand finale, but it was a good fireworks show, and I think it was enjoyed, and it was well attended by the folks that parked around Gaylord and on Parkway Street in front of the Civic Center and all the different places that they parked to watch it. So I think that it was worthwhile to have it once again. Maybe next year we'll have our usual 4th of July celebration. I'm hopeful that we'll have the music and the food and the people, the children sliding down the hill on the plastic and things, and Alderman Klutz, yeah.
I'll be back to do that,
Yeah.
Alderman or not.
We missed some of those activities this year, but good Lord willing, maybe next year we'll have on. Paul Hutcherson.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm guilty of not being out myself, but how's the farmer's market head count price been doing the last couple of weeks?
It's slow.
So, are we still going with the runners?
No, we didn't initiate that on the first week.
Okay.
It's up underneath the market. We try to control and encourage people to maintain social distancing under the pavilion. But it's there, underneath the pavilion, and, but one of the big problems is the produce has just started coming in. I think last week was the first productive week for produce, and, but we haven't had a whole lot of produce to sell, but it's starting to come in now, and I think things will pick up significantly.
You know, I think the citizens ought to be given a hand too, because, you know, we had to write an ordinance 2 or 3, 4 years ago about them. Fireworks, 2 or 3 weeks this way and 2 or 3, they've really done a good job, and everybody really worked together on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for a fact that my dogs and myself really.
Yeah. I enjoyed about 3 nights of 10 o'clock fireworks out my way.
4th of July, about 11:30.
But I haven't heard the sound of one out of my way since then, so they shot them off within the time frame. Although they might have been a little late at night. That's okay. Anything about the fire report? You've got that. Okay, hearing nothing, reports from aldermen and advisory committees. Okay, unfinished business, the former CSX property, Pipey Jones Street. That was the property that Mr. Oliver and Sam Bone were proposing to purchase. And we did reach an agreement to sell it or to them for $1,600, as was stated in the meeting, and they agreed to that. We haven't consummated that transaction yet, and unfortunately, at the death of Terry Oliver, we'll probably have to do a little research and see how that's going to proceed from this point, because they were going to take title in their individual names, and we'll have to research that a little bit and see how it's going to proceed, and we'll wait till after a respectful time after the funeral tomorrow to do that.
I would imagine Mr. Bowman is probably gonna want to continue to do that.
I'm sure he is, but I don't know if somebody's going to succeed to Mr. Oliver's interest in the oil company there, and they may want to title it in ever whose name that was, or Mr. Bone may want to take title just in his name.
Yeah.
As opposed to.
It'll be simply changing the deed, the name, whoever it goes to.
Yeah, so we'll wait just a little bit to see how that's gonna go. So that's what where we're at on that. Under new business, bid approval for an aerator. You have before you those bids. And this is an aerator for the sewage lagoon, for the the big, sale out there. We haven't had one there, but we're going to add an additional aerator to help with, that particular sale. And we received 2 bids, I think. One was from USA Blue Book, DBA at USA Blue Book for $74,3920. And it's a 7.5 horsepower aerator. And then we received a bid from Evoqua, I guess is how you pronounce that, for a 7.5 horsepower aerator for $6,600. So we have 2 bids. Evoqua is the lesser of the 2 by about $696.10.
The Blue Book bid is already expired on the first, and the other one down here stipulates that some kind of sentence in here, due to extreme validity, the steel cost price quoted, so we don't know where this is. Can you get in touch with him, see if this is gonna be a bid here or not?
I think that we had already, JP, help me out here. Had you not already talked to them and told them it would be in July before these bids were presented? And
Yes, sir, I talked to both police and told them that it would be brought up before me in July, and they both agreed that it would be good.
okay, so they have agreed that the price would be good, even though it's the 6th day of July that we're approving the bids.
Yes, sir, as far as I understand.
Okay. All right. Does that answer the question?
I make a motion to accept the lowest bid.
Okay. Got a motion to accept the low bid of Evoqua of $6,600. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Anderson. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, call the roll, please, ma'am.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gilding,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Lutz,
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Crawford business request. We've had a request from Jimbo Crawford and Steve Peckham. They're planning on opening a deli shop in the old coffee cup building over on Wilson Street, across from the courthouse. And they have asked the city for permission to build a elevated platform across the alley, the city-owned alley that goes down through there. If you don't mind. And you come out the side door that exits into the alley. They want to build it where it comes up, an elevated platform that would be a minimum of 8 foot above the surface of the sidewalk. And their request is to build this platform to put freezers on that that would hold some of their product that they sell up there, refrigeration units. And they have asked Tom Revis. Y'all don't ever forget names, do you? They have asked Tom Revis if they could put that platform up close to his building, and Tom has said, no, you're going to have a setback, and he specified a setback. They don't have plans here tonight because of the, they had plans drawn, but when there was a requirement to set back from Tom's building, the old Rexall drug building, they're having to have those plans redrawn. It was going to be an architectural drawing showing what the platform would look like there. But that's what they're asking for.
In this drawing, there's an air conditioning compressor on the wall. Is that there now?
Yes.
Okay. So they're not showing their plans.
No, that's a picture
How
that
are
we
they gonna
could,
get up there?
they're gonna, have steps coming out of that little, you see the steps that come out of the side thing? They're gonna have steps going up from it to the platform.
I need to see some,
Plans.
I need to
thought
see
you-
something more than that, because right now my impression is not favorable for that.
And I felt like you would, and that's the reason they're not here tonight. But I wanted to bring it to your attention that that was a request that they were making. And they've got to redraw their plans for that, and to show it to you. And that will be something you can think about until next month's meeting. Okay? It was originally on the agenda because we felt like the plans would be here, but they are not here. Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Can I ask another
Yes.
question there?
Yes, sir.
Jennifer will probably know this. Some of these trucks, temporary eating establishments, if you will, that move into town, they get a city permit first of all, correct?
They are not required to get a city business license because they operate under their home license wherever they are based out of.
Okay, question two. Do we, the city require them to have any kind of health permit to serve food?
And so that would come through the health department.
They are required to have a inspection and a permit from the Tennessee Department of Health, and their food truck is inspected. And that's one of the, you brought up an issue that sometimes bothers me as well. Food trucks come into town, they don't leave any sales tax here in our community, or don't pay any into our community. And then all their sales tax goes back to wherever they're based out of. If they're based out of Trenton, Tennessee is gonna get sales tax on what they sold up here.
Well, these hit businesses that come in here, some of them, the last weekend or something like it. Is it the city's, is the city agreeing to let something like that come in and serve food? Or is it up to the city in general to ask the health department to look at fire them open and serve? See what I'm getting at?
If they've got a permit, the health department doesn't come, but the health department could turn up at any time and inspect them, and if they were here without a permit, they'd be subject to citation and shut down.
Does that run through the state?
Yes.
So all food trucks have to be licensed to serve
Yes.
food to the state, and it is based on where they register their business to be, is considered where they're doing business. I didn't know.
Well, if they've got a permit, they'd be willing to show it to, say, some city officials or some police officers.
They're supposed to have that permit displayed in within public view. Yes, sir.
I'd like for us to get something on the books or something before. I just got a problem with that myself. And some other people have asked me about that. I just wondered.
There's one that stays here in town that does have a city business license. But you're talking about ones that just come in from out of town for a day or two.
We
and
can
then
get down to
pick up
ice
and leave.
cream trucks and stuff like that,
Now, we do have a ice cream truck that operates out of Dresden, not anymore. We had one that operated out of Dresden, and when they went some other place, we got the sales tax off of those places.
Sorry to
We
interrupt.
don't anymore.
We just need to, we can encourage people to build.
I've not seen a food truck here. Where do
From
they
here,
go?
and send them out to the world.
Well, we've had them here for various events.
Events, yes, I know, but I thought he was talking about just food trucks showing up here.
I don't know that we've had any just show up here. We have, in that Mitch White that's down here, that he sets up 2 days or 3 days a week down
Well,
here.
Mitch White does the hot dogs and stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's
There's a fellow that does barbecue.
James, Mike, whatever he does.
But he's based here, right?
He went
Yeah,
out of town.
so it's our same.
Who has that eating place? That cooks down there, 2 days a week?
That's who he's talking about.
Okay.
She, that we were just talking about. He has a city permit,
Well,
and he's also inspected by the health department.
that's good.
Anything else on there?
No, sir, that's fine.
Okay. But yes, you could walk up there and supposedly be able to see their permit, what their inspection number was. Okay, any other thing on that? Are we ready to move on to fire truck? Okay, you recall that last month we had a discussion on a fire truck that Paul and Corey had brought and to the meeting that was a demonstrator fire truck and that it was for sale for $275,000. Since that time, a little further investigation found that that fire truck probably didn't have a lot of things on it that our fire department would need. And Corey, you're on the line. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, if you would tell the board about what the fire truck was or the bumper that you had last month and what your investigation showed about that after the meeting.
So the original truck that we had located on talking to Bob Dudley, who's there with in the meeting, the truck that's there was just like a bare bones truck. It was basically just a scale. It was missing a lot of equipment that we would need. Missing scaling in all the compartments, deck gun for fighting elevated fires, siren, air horns. It was quite a bit of loose equipment that we did not have off of another truck that we dropped and put on that truck. So it was basically just like a shell. He put a box on the back with some roll boards and put it out there for that price.
Okay, so if I'm correct, that truck didn't really meet what we needed 100%, is that correct?
No, yes, sir. It's got the smaller pump on than what we, the cheaper, I guess you would say, baseline pump on it. Not as durable, longer lasting as that we have on our engines that we have now. It had, I believe, a hell pump, which doesn't fit our specifications as far as like what our other trucks had. So there were several little things there that, would ended up costing us more money to try to add on stuff over that truck to make it where it was road ready when it comes to Dresden.
Okay, and then you talked with Mr. Dudley, who is a representative of the Pierce Fire Equipment Company, and more or less together a truck that would meet our specifications and our needs. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So we had 2 to 3 meetings with Bob there, and one of them, we sat down and talked and looked to be able to get the shell bumper that we showed you at the last meeting, to get it up to our specs to where it's road ready in the city of Dresden. Was going to add about an extra, don't quote me on prices, I'm going off the top of my head, somewhere around $20,000 to $23,000 more. Mr. Dudley has a fire truck that is 2 years newer with no mileage. Would take us 5 months longer to get it than what the original truck was going to be. And the price difference was only going to be $3,000 more to have it built to our spec, our color, all of our standards that we require to be on a bumper. And like I said, it'd be 2 years newer truck. Instead of a 2019, it would actually be a 2021 when it rolled into Dresden and rolled off the assembly line. This truck here has air horns, the seats with SCBAs mounted inside of them where the firefighters can be ready to come off the truck with airbags if needed. As a deck gun, Roll-up doors, the ladders would be inside the compartment to protect them from the elements, when the truck's out on the streets and on the road. It would be our color scheme. The other truck that we found would be a lighter color or maybe a little bit darker color, so it wouldn't match our scheme as far as our colors go. This one will match it to the T. The pump on it is a bigger and better pump. It's a same type pump that we run now currently on engine 3 and 4. It's a Walker's pump. Water pumps that we have in Dresden, in the last 10 years, we've probably maybe spent maybe $5,000 or less in 10 years on maintenance of that because of them being a better built pump versus where the other truck had a lower end pump where we may end up having more problems out there in the long run. Is there any questions as far as about the difference between the structure, anything that I can answer or that Mr. Dudley can answer for you that's there in the audience with you?
Okay, as you see, there was I sent a proposal for furnishing fire apparatus to you via email. You may have not have gotten it, Ms. Joyce, but if you would pass that.
Mayor?
Yes.
Is
that Paul?
This is Paul. I'm on vacation, but I did go ahead and call in because I knew this was on the agenda.
Wow.
Woke him up.
Surprise, surprise.
Tell them where you're calling from.
Jamaica?
Well, I've been in Key West for 5 days.
Quarantine.
Are you being deported?
I hope not.
You're not in the immigration hold down there, right?
We can arrange.
Not yet. But Mayor, I did want to say in regard to our ISO achievements, thank you for your leadership. Mayor Washburn has been on us for years about improving this ISO situation. And he never let us forget it. And Corey put in a lot of work on this thing and we got ourselves to a 4. And thank you, Corey, for your support. We do appreciate it.
Okay, you have anything further you want to add about the pumper truck?
No, Corey summed it up very well.
Okay. We have this proposal that for furnishing a fire apparatus, as I recall that the one that we looked at last month was $279,000. And this one, the Pierce Fire Freightliner 4-door, a top mount, 1,250 gallon per minute pump. All of that would be $308,155. And then if we do a payment in advance of 100% of that money, meaning we would borrow it, and you know, we talked about borrowing it from our water fund, getting that approved, we would get approximately $11,403 credit because they would be paying us interest on our prepayment money until they delivered the truck, and that's that amount of money would be $11,403, and that's at about 5%.
That's at 3.7%. You get a lot more for your money there than you are to Jamaica City.
And
3.7%.
that would bring the total for the truck at $296,752. This would this purchase. You asked where are the bids? This is a bid from a Sourcewell. It's a company that provides does bidding of government things like trucks, tractors, mowers, police cars, and all kinds of things. They do the bidding already, and it's recognized as a sole source bidding, sort of like state bids. And from what I'm told, and we had Carla check in on this, and we already had an account with them where sometime in the past, prior to me becoming the mayor here, they had purchased a police car or something through that on a couple of occasions in the past. So it was something that had been used previously by the city. We had a previous account there, and she has updated that account to the correct contact information and that sort of stuff. So we're all set up if the board were to decide to go this route through the single source purchasing company. We've even reached out to the comptroller's office in regard to it. have we received anything back from them saying, no, you can't do
Mayor,
this?
would you let me speak on the source of this?
Let's let Alderman Hurt speak.
We started buying from them when Selden Cashin went to Nashville and started running that place, called Mike and said, I'll get you police cars anytime you want it, we'll take care of it. And started buying in and we bought there till he come home.
Okay,
We got good buys on that.
what you have?
The source well, to give you a good example, is they bid product every 18 months. And right now you're in the middle of the cycle. So the bids were taken October a year ago. So you're getting pricing from October a year ago. Instead of buying one truck, they may have bid 900 fire trucks. So that's why you save the money. And of course, big savings on the prepaid discount up front. But I just want to, that's why people do. And in my business, I've got several trucks sold in West Tennessee.
So we'll make, when will we take delivery?
Take about 12 to 13 months. We will give you a performance bond and bid bond and secure your funds that whole time. It's a process that we go through. I was just gonna say, if it's a community development block grant, that's the only bids I do. All the towns now are doing this.
I make a motion, we buy the truck.
Got a motion and to buy by Alderman Anderson, a second by Alderman Hurt. Call the roll, please, ma'am.
Is this to allow the city to purchase the truck and
Approve
secure internal funding through the state?
In the source, under the contract proposal we have.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gilday,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Klutz,
Yes.
Moore.
One comment, we can ask for discussion. But spending this money for the city is probably one of the better things we're gonna do because everybody that pays taxes in this city will get something out of it. So I vote yes.
Thank you. All right.
Mayor, can I say one thing before y'all move on to something else?
Yes, sir, go right ahead.
I just want to echo what Chief Hutchinson said about the ISO. Our guys have worked their butt off to get us to where we are, and with the mayor and with the alderman there, with all of y'all's support and helping us get this, it wouldn't have been possible without that. We're not going to stop there. We're going to keep trying to work harder to try to lower it again. It's another long road process, but I believe we can get there eventually. But I just wanted to say I appreciate everything y'all do, and trusting Paul and myself on letting us run with this and try to get things taken care of for the citizens of Dresden.
Thank you, Corey, and we certainly do appreciate what the fire department did, because they bore the heavy load in all of this and doing extra training and extra work to get things done that needed to be
They
done.
work hard.
And so we appreciate the fire department and what they've done. Anything else? That concludes our agenda tonight.
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Over the CSX property, we voted last month for you to handle it. Do we need to vote again for you to accept that whenever they want to, or you don't have to come back again?
I don't think we do, Mayor. The board approved you to go ahead and spend within a set amount of money, and as long as it doesn't go above that amount, it really doesn't matter whose name we put on the deed and the end product. It's still within the authority granted to the mayor by the board.
But we don't have to accept it, what I'm asking.
No.
I vote to accept. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that's the only
Yes.
question I have.
Alderman Anderson.
Truck exhaust, loud trucks, where are we at with that?
Should have an ordinance prepared for the board to review in August.
Okay.
The mayor and I have been working on it, and I'm trying to get the language where it actually has some sticking teeth to it, where Chief Crocker and his men can actually bring them in, and if we need to, hopefully get more than just.
Since we brought it up last time, and I guess through our community thing, I've had a number of people said that's a problem for them.
Yeah.
It is a problem.
And so then I asked them, some of them later, says, can you tell any difference in it? No, it's not any better.
There's been one person cited I know of as last Thursday. I asked our police clerk, and there has been one citation issued, but
I don't get complaints on speeding too much, but
They really go by your house.
Well.
Oh, they just right in front of me.
yeah.
Mayor, if I may, Alderman Anderson, there actually is a TCA in place that we can use in the interim. The chief's familiar with 559202 that does allow them to go ahead and write those citations, and they're fully defensible in court.
I even concluded at a point in my rationale, as y'all well know, I'm opposed to speed cameras. I don't like them. I don't think they're right, because you can't judge who's driving the car. You're just right to think. In that light, a decibel thing that went off and took a picture of the truck, I would support, because it's the vehicle that's offended, not
Well,
the.
it's a red truck, old red truck.
Well, there's a blue one, and I've seen all kinds of.
White
Yeah,
ones.
there's all kinds.
Oh, I saw that one.
And so anyway, I would be in favor of that, because it is the vehicle that is offensive, not the person driving it.
Well, when Chief Howell was here, I went ahead and instructed him to purchase a decibel meter where they can set it off the road, and as they drive by, if it's too loud, it would register and they tell them how many decibels it is. There are some state laws that Michigan and Nevada are two that I know of that have a set statute that if it's like 80 decibels at 50 feet, it's too loud. And we're gonna model our ordinance after one of those states, and they're
In one
gonna
of my
have.
houses, like a parade, they come by, they got big old flags hanging in the back, and they throw it down because they're trying to attract as much attention to themselves as they can.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know if that's who's coming by my house out on, Highway 54, but they come down through there about 10:30 at night, and then they turn and go down Clutch Road, and I can hear them all the way to the Prairie side of the, farm.
Yeah, when they shout that, it's.
My husband used to drive one just like it.
That was the number one thing that I received more complaints about.
It's worse than the dogs.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad y'all are doing something to keep me apprised.
Chief Howell actually put down a directive to the police department to issue citations, but only one issued since that last meeting.
Well, I told Chief, and I'll tell, the board right now, if they're writing them, as soon as we have city court, I'll be right back in here prosecuting them, just like we do the ordinance violations, and demand that we get as much of a fine and court cost out as possible. If nothing else, at least start telling people, tone it down.
Do y'all, in that regard, do you hear much about the properties in our community and things? I know, Joyce, you've voiced before that we hear a lot about those, and Sandra has too, but I wonder if the other board members have heard much out of what's going on with that.
About condemnation.
Condemnation, property maintenance, and things like that around.
I think I've had comments on people that thought that it was an improvement. They see improvement, things look better, the town looks clean, and I've had a comment from a couple of people who thought we were just picking on certain people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot.
I have
What do you think we are?
I just told one of them if they clean it up, they wouldn't pick on them.
I don't think we're picking.
I mean, I don't think we're doing that. I sure do.
But some of the properties that were, that they had in here, the original ones, I think all of them have shown improvement.
I think all of them have.
You know, they're, I think that the board, the condemnation board is making progress. There's still some work to go, but I think they're making progress.
There's still some work to do. One other thing here,
Yes.
Look at the house next.
whatever happened to the beautification committee we used to have here, like yard of the
I
week,
wondered how much
yard
that's
of
gonna
the
cost
month,
them when I sell my mom and daddy's house.
Yeah, more or less, but it sort
It's gonna
of got
cost me
absorbed
money.
by the condemnation.
Having the money next door.
Yes, it will. If we don't need to fix it.
No.
I'll tell you.
They were still developing.
Yeah, we're still.
I don't have any.
We need to
Have that
to stay out in town, go out a little bit out on Old Latham Road and New Latham Road.
Yeah.
There's weeds and run down houses and
Well,
a bunch of stuff, so we need to drift.
we've
out.
got quite a bit of that in town right now, even on Evergreen Street.
We've had. I was
Highways,
there yesterday, day before yesterday, 4th of July.
we've got I've heard several complaints in the last few days about high grass, debris in the yard,
Got one house
just
that
trashed
I
up yards and things.
Got one house that's covered in junk, old cabinets, everything.
Thank you.
Call you today, I'll redo that contract.
All right.
Thank y'all, appreciate you.
The Condemnation Board is gonna meet later this month, and they're gonna address some things, but one of the reasons I wanted Kerry to come by tomorrow was I want to talk about this codes enforcement and things like that. It's quite frankly, I get tired of having to be the one that points out that there are problems that need to be addressed. It's not my job to drive this town every day and try to find out things when we're paying somebody to do that. And,
He doesn't.
all right, anything else?
How much motion we adjourn?
Got a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor, stand. However, it's like
Like good at it.
I've got Rodney coming.
That property is on the list, Joyce. That property is on the list. Hard to talk about.